I've been a champion of the league the whole year, and
yeah.
The thing that's crazy though, Jeff, is I don't have a good.
You know what I got to do though? Yeah, I got to. Yeah. I must do that for you.
The thing about the Big Ten though is that I feel like I don't have a good explanation for why this happened. Oh, other than all right, like with COVID, non-conference got chopped for the most part. You played in some teams played in their Thanksgiving event. And you had a couple, but we didn't get like the typical non-conference slate. So we didn't get those matchups against other Power 5 leagues. And because the Big Ten was so good the previous year, we just assumed. But like from watching these teams, like seeing Michigan, seeing Illinois, watching Purdue at times, seeing Ohio State for most of the year, I was like, man, they're good. And I feel like I have a pretty good eye for that just because of watching so much college basketball over the last 10 years. But other than that, I don't have an explanation other than the league just totally crapped the bed.
They just shit the bed at the end when it mattered most, like they have in the past. I don't know if it's that. I mean, there are several kind of thoughts on it, right? Like one is they beat up on each other. That's almost too easy. I feel like that's a cop-out.
Sharpens iron. I really don't buy into that.
Right. I'm with you. I think the other one might be there was too much jammed into the end of the season with a lot of these teams playing a ton of games. But Michigan did it too. Now, Michigan had a long pause where they might have been able to kind of get their legs back and they're fresher once they get back from that pause, completely get back. I don't know. Or they're just more talented.
They're the best. They're the highest talented team in the Big Ten. And they're playing without one of the players. I don't think that either. I have no idea. I really don't. It does not make
just here. All right. Here's my thought on it. Here's my thought. Ready? Hear me out. A team like Wisconsin, for example, was so good in December. Okay, the end of November and December. Why? You and I talked about this. They had everybody back, right? And I was sticking my chest out early, saying, "Look, I'm right." I had them ranked preseason number 6.
Did they lose to Marquette in December?
They did. They had one loss, but for the most part, I think they were 9-1. Okay, so they started out well because they had most of their team back. I think that was the case with a lot of the Big Ten teams. They had a lot back. They started out well, and frankly, you make the opinion on your league is set in the non-conference, obviously, right? That's when it's determined whether you're going to get 9 teams in or 4 teams in. And the Big Ten did well early. And then we had Northwestern was good for a minute. Penn State had good numbers that helped them. Ken Palm, they were in the mid-30s. So I just feel again, their numbers were so good because of the non-conference. And then because you looked at Ken Palm and the net and whatever. And again, they were good, but they weren't that much better. There are only a few teams that are that much better than everybody else this year.
That's true. But the baffling thing is to watch Illinois, who's been so explosive all year, run into Loyola Chicago, who's a really well-coached team, an experienced team, a good team. But to look like that when we've seen them play at such a high level against Michigan and Ohio State and Purdue, and it's
yeah, what happened? Yeah, listen. I would say it was a matchup issue with Illinois. I'm not sure if it was a matchup issue with some of these other Big Ten schools, but it was clearly Kofi and Cam. Kofi in his nightmares now sees Cam Crowell. Seriously, it was hard. It was hard to watch in person. Okay, so I hadn't seen Kofi since last year in person, and watching him, and honestly watching how slow he is, it was remarkable to me. I thought Brad Underwood had to pull him out of the game, and he didn't. He went with what got him there. I get it. Kofi had gotten better the second half of the year defensively, but that matchup was brutal for him. I mean, he was abused in every way, and they kept dropping him, and every time they just took advantage, the dribble handoff every time.
Right. Okay, so Illinois, bad matchup. Purdue, I did the game.
Yeah.
Never felt like Purdue was going to win. You know, like how crazy is that? I never felt like with the way
They had two players who played. They had two guys who showed up.
No, I mean they were, and North Texas had a really good game plan. They packed it in. They made him prove it from three. Saf Stefanovic struggled defensively, so he didn't play in the second half. And I think it was the right move. He could not guard those guys in that pick and roll. They were going. Honestly, it was a really good coaching play. They just went guard to guard ball screen and let Javion Hamlin just go to work. I mean, I don't think that was a great matchup for Purdue because of their style of play, where they're just going to grind you out, and they've got a point guard who can pick you apart, and they had shooters spread out everywhere. And credit North Texas, they had a game plan that they were going to trap those bigs, and they made them look so uncomfortable. Ohio State thing,
that's what you have to do.
Playing, I mean, it is what it is, but I don't feel like I have a great answer. Some of them, yes, like Iowa, Oregon, horrific matchup for Iowa. I just feel like, you know, it makes sense. They're on pace to give up 120 points at halftime. And that's how explosive Oregon is, and those guards can go. But it wasn't all bad matchups. Some of it's just they're performing, not playing as well as they can, and really just not playing well at all.
So what's your biggest takeaway? If I said to you, other than the Big Ten sucking, what would be your biggest takeaway so far?
I think it's just got to be like the chaos of the first 2 days is unheard of for this tournament. You know, I did the games with Jason Benetti for Westwood One, and we were like, through our first 3 games. Now we got 2 turds last night, but our first
I saw him too. I was there.
I was like, we got North Texas Purdue on Friday. We had UC Santa Barbara Creighton, which came down to a missed layup to win the game for Creighton. And we had Abilene Christian and Texas. And it was like, we might have had 3 of the 4, other than the Oral Roberts Ohio State game. I think we had 3 of the 4 best games of the first round. And, you know, the basketball gods repaid us last night with USC Kansas and Creighton. But
They're awful.
But yeah. It was a wild first 2 days. It was really fun to watch, but I wonder if it's going to hurt the tournament going forward, because now when you look at some of these matchups, you're like, ooh, I don't know.
Yeah, they're a little underwhelming.